coming to you live from beautiful Lindau, Germany. It's the 71st annual Lindau Nobel Laureate Meeting. I'm Brian Malow, and I have been interviewing some of the 600 young scientists taking part this year. Due to COVID, about 100 of our participants are participating virtually, online from around the world. But we have about 30 Nobel laureates and 500 young scientists here on the lovely island of Lindau. And joining me right now is Erika Schaudy from the University of Vienna. Hi, Erika.
Hi, Brian.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. So you're a postdoc, so I'm sorry, Dr. Erika Schaudy, but you said you haven't been a postdoc for very long?
Yeah, I think my defense was pretty much 6 months ago,
Excellent.
so still feels
Congratulations.
pretty fresh. Thank you.
So why don't we start with that? Tell me what your science is about. What were you doing for your thesis?
So I'm working with nucleic acids, so particularly nucleic acid chemistry, but also like on the border to molecular biology, I would say. And what we do is we make nucleic acids in the lab, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. And why? Tell me what the reason. What's it about?
Yeah, I think everyone knows that we have like DNA, RNA in our cells. I think everyone got in contact with this like central dogma of molecular biology, which is that the long-time storage of our information that actually makes us is DNA, and then it gets to this like more like kind of intermediate version, messenger RNA, and in the end it's protein. And it is very fascinating because it's really so tiny molecules and what's going on at a molecular level. But clearly to study these things, like also outside of the cell, we kind of have to mimic them because we can't always look into the cell, right? We have to adjust our systems to also investigate it, what we call in vitro, which actually means like in some reaction vessel. So for this, we need this nucleic acids and with some specific properties, some specific sequence. And that's what I do. I create nucleic acids.
That's wonderful. And it is so fascinating. For my non-scientist mind, it's almost incomprehensible that DNA is just instructions to create a bunch of proteins. How does that end up being me? All it says is make all these proteins. How does that result in me?
Yeah, I guess it's because proteins, like they have so many tasks in your body. They can, act, they can just stabilize, they can cleave stuff, they can move. So it's just fascinating. They can come in very different shapes and forms. And yeah, it's really, really fascinating on the protein level, but at least to me, even more fascinating on the DNA level.
Yes, very fascinating. And I like the way you obviously are, you get excited talking about it. Can you move over just a little bit? Yeah, there we go. I know it's hard. It's non-intuitive. You got to move left to go
Yeah.
right. But did you always know that you wanted to be a scientist? Do you remember something that hooked you into science?
Mm, Actually, like when I was a child, I always wanted to be a teacher because I really loved explaining things, especially maths and biology. And then I started my studies actually biotechnology. So I was always fascinated about this molecular biology level, but also techniques. And at some point, there were just so many open questions, kind of, and just reading in a textbook wasn't. I mean, it was nice, but I always wanted to like find it out myself, and I was just too curious to stick only to the textbook. So I wanted to find something new and probably also create something myself.
That's really exciting about science, isn't it? That when you get to discover anything or be the first person to witness or discover or create something, what's that like?
Yeah, it's just wonderful. It's like really the so one of the Nobel laureates actually said it in one of the talks. It's really the best feeling ever. And especially during PhD studies, you fail often, and you know it's part of the game. But once things start to work and you see like a result and you finally made it work, that's an incredible feeling. That's the best thing, and it was worth it, like all the struggle and effort you put into it. Amazing.
Yes, I'll bet. So that's probably, I was going to ask you what you love about science, but that right there is something to really love about science. Do you think that the public, that it's important for the public to have a better appreciation for science? Is there something that you wish the public understood about science and the way it's done?
Yeah, I think the past 2 years were tough for everyone with this pandemic, and I mean, science is not easy, and that's why there are some people who are scientists, right? So it's a real job, and other people have other jobs, so that's fine. But I would wish that people probably would trust us, because just like in the morning I get in the bus and the bus driver takes me here, and I trust him that he knows what he's doing. Actually, I trust that I will survive this ride on the bus. And I would wish that people would also appreciate this, that scientists do the same. I mean, they give their best, and sometimes they fail, and sometimes they find out that, yeah, methods improve and so on. So I think it's also important for the public to understand that this is not static. We can always get more and better information, but the information we really published, it's the best that we currently have, and that we're really giving our best.
That's beautiful. So let's talk about the meeting, because we're pretty far into it. We really only have one more day, and it's like a 5.5 day meeting, and we have one more full day tomorrow. Before you even came here, had you heard of the meeting? What was your process for getting invited to actually being here this week?
Yeah, I was lucky because a colleague of mine told me about the meeting. So he has been here, I think, 2018, and he told me that it's great, and the lake is great, so the place is great, and that you can meet a lot of inspiring people. So I also applied for it, and in Austria the process is through the Austrian Academy of Sciences, and it's like a several-step process. So you need some letter of recommendation, and clearly like a resume and so on, and have to show your motivation. But honestly, what I liked most in this application process was this: they particularly asked for extracurricular activities. And now that I'm here, I feel how important this is, that you also have, you're not just working through your curriculum, but you're also interested in science in general, and have a kind of a look to the left and to the right, what else is there. And this is great. Oh, I think a thunderstorm is starting here.
Oh, really? Is it raining?
Not yet. So I might move, but we can go on, I think.
Let's, we'll see. We'll only talk a few more minutes. But so were there any Nobel laureates that maybe because their work is related to yours, but not necessarily, but any laureates that you were looking forward to meeting or talking to?
Yeah, so just right now, like the last session before lunch break was Ada Jonat, and she was working on the ribosome. And so one has to know that the ribosome is also like built partially of RNA, so a nucleic acid. So it was clearly closely connected to what I do. So it was very exciting to hear her talk. And now even in the afternoon, we'll have an open exchange session with her. So I'm really looking forward to this, talking
Excellent.
to her a bit more.
Right, so
private,
she gave a talk about her life in science, but the open exchange session, you get to just talk to her about anything, not even limited to science, but work-life balance, or really anything you want, right?
Exactly. So I for sure have several questions. Like also, there's this. I I'm not sure if it's the correct word, but maybe a bit of a male bias when we look at the Nobel laureates. So that I'm definitely gonna ask her how it is, like, as a female scientist to get that far.
Yes. I spoke to her several years ago at the meeting, and I asked her why she always comes, and it's really for the young scientists to interact with them. But when I asked her why she comes, she said, "I come for a lot of reasons. Being interviewed is not one of them." She was very funny. So, more about the meeting. A lot of themes come up. We had an early panel on the first day about trust in science. There's been talk about diversity. So not only do we talk about high-level science, but other things like science policy and the Lindau guidelines. Are there any of those themes that have been particularly interesting to you?
Yeah, so I mean, clearly this Trust in Science session was amazing, also as a great kickoff already on Sunday. And just yesterday in the morning, we had a panel discussion on collaborations in difficult times, like how we are facing it right now. And this was really good, like also the kind of the spirit of this meeting in general, that we have to think diverse and include everybody. And even if we are not there yet, it's kind of a very good mission, I think. And it's good that we are here to talk about it. And I really like that the organizers pick up these topics, that it's not only science, but also, you know, everything that comes with it. So collaboration and how to include the general public and so on. So this is amazing. I think that's what makes this meeting very special.
Yes. Another thing that makes it interesting is that it's not just the laureates that present science, but some of the 500 young scientists here have had an opportunity to present their own science under the moniker of Next Generation Science. So you had a chance to present your science, didn't you? Tell me, tell me what that was like.
This was amazing. I mean, clearly before I was very much stressed out, and I was the first one in the first session. But it was so great, you know, just to be on the stage where several Nobel laureates also gave their talk and so on. And then it was in the Stadttheater, so in a real theater. I've never been on such a stage with so many people listening, and it was wonderful. And then there was also, what I experienced here is also like a very strong and supportive atmosphere between the participants. So in our session, you know, I was looking down to the audience while giving my talk, and all my colleagues from the session were smiling and nodding. That was really great.
You were looking down and also up in the Stadttheater. They were all around.
Yeah. Yeah, they have even on the sides and yeah, kind of everywhere.
That's wonderful. Well, you know, I don't want to be responsible for you getting struck by lightning because you're holding your phone out in the rain. So I thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and I'm glad you've had a great meeting, and I hope you enjoy the rest of it. So thank you very much, Dr. Erika Schaudy from the University of Vienna. And I'm Brian Malow, and we still have a few more interviews to come and plenty of programming and one more day tomorrow here from the 71st Annual Lindau Nobel Laureate Meeting.